Hi, how you doing? Welcome to a Reddit thing called nosleep. Today I am going to try to read off a story called Test Subject 43. I did try recording this a few times before and I could not stop stuttering, so I'm going to go ahead and try to restart again to see if I can make this more immersible. Anyways, if you do like this, we can go ahead and try to continue on to different types of stories. So for now, let's go ahead and see what we got. Test tub. Nah. Wow. Second word, and I'm already stuttering. Okay. Let's do this again. Test subject 43, 2017, 8, 19. Male. Height 178 centimeters. Weight 94 kilograms. Pause for a moment. I am American, so I have no idea. Anyways, continuing. Age 22 years. Smoker? No. Drug use? None within the past 2 years. Alcohol? None within the past 2 years. Subject 43 is a bit of a rarity. Very healthy, near peak physical conditions. Subject 43 was previously considered to be a borderline Olympic sprinter before financial troubles landed him in severe financial debt. His mental status, up until very recently, however, has also exceeded nearly every other test subject. His extremely durable constitution has enabled us to push him further than any of the previous test subjects by considerable lengths. He has also survived longer than any test subject 11 and displayed an unparalleled resistance to light and heat that even subject 19 could not match. Subject 19 was the only test subject so far that could survive direct sunlight exposure for any time longer than a few seconds. Unfortunately, subject 43 began to show signs of mental decay and it was decided to end his experiment before the end of the month. 2017 8/21. Subject 43 has gained nearly 10 kilograms in less than 72 hours. The mass appears to be a thickening of muscles along his back and arms. The muscles appear to have calcified just below the surface of the skin. Traditional forms of sedation have been deemed highly ineffective, and the experiment conclusion has been revised from the end of the month to as soon as physically possible. Gaseous sedative has proven patchy at best and resulted in the deaths of two former handlers, as well as a third being hideously gored. His outcome is uncertain at present, but my opinion is that a third death will be attributed to Subject 43. However, until a more potent form of sedation is available, Subject 43 is being deprived of food and water in an attempt to weaken him. 2017 8/24. The third handler died less than a week after the incident. He complained of something living within his skin and swimming through his blood before death. Blood and skin samples were analyzed under extreme caution and scrutiny by 3 teams, one of which included myself. Abnormal levels of 3 yet unnamed pathogens were discovered in the blood, and the skin was fragile to the point that the cells decayed too rapidly to be properly examined. The remains of the handler were cremated, with extreme prejudice, and the ashes were again heated to an excess of 15,000 degrees Celsius to ensure that contamination was impossible. They have been disposed of in a secure off-site facility, along with the bodies of other handlers in a crypt of sorts that is encased in multiple tons of concrete and lead. If Chernobyl gave us nothing else, it gave us a morbid inspiration. 2017 9/29. Subject 43 has shown extreme resilience to even our harshest countermeasures and appears to be able to survive without water indefinitely. While we're aware of the flesh of three handlers that was partially consumed, the mass of said flesh was rather minimal compared to the mass of Subject 43. In addition, the subject has continued to gain weight, albeit at a slower pace. The subject currently weighs in at 110 kilograms and has been gaining approximately 1 kilogram every 2 to 3 days. His derma is now completely calcified, and the muscle mass beneath the skin is no longer shows as prominently, but it is most certainly still there. Today, the subject destroyed the locking handle on a 7-ton door with his bare hands. The mechanism itself weighs in excess of 500 kilograms, and the subject 43 hoisted it above his head in an attempt to bash one of the walls and escape. Ignore that, by the way, it was another scam number. As such, we have begun to limit the oxygen levels in the subject room to an attempt to make him weaker. Thus far, reducing the levels to that of Mount Everest have had no noticeable effect, but the trial is ongoing. 2017-10-21. Subject 43 has finally begun to display dormancy. At first, it was a ruse. A fake handler was inserted into the room via a quick release pod insertion, and Subject 43 immediately tore the arms and legs from the decoy before realizing its error, and again feigning inactivity. That was the first day of October. Since then, the subject's movements slowed until it finally leaned into the corner of the enclosure and ceased activity. Vital signs appear to mimic animalistic hibernation, while the sensory activity indicates that it is still at least vaguely aware of its surroundings. 3 weeks have passed with zero activity, and for the first time since early August, personnel have been allowed back into the enclosure, albeit with very strict instructions to follow. 2017-10-29. Our orders have been revised. Study of Subject 43 has been resumed. I argued strongly against this action, but I was overruled. As such, I tendered my resignation. I was told point blank that I could either help or get out of the way. I reluctantly withdrew my resignation. I created this problem, and I would see it through. Several of my coworkers did leave, however, and the scientific study appears much more forced at this point. I am not sure how much useful information this will uncover, but I will continue my research. 2017-11-5. Test Subject 49 escaped her Level 1 in containment today. Subject 49 was a much older individual, female, and came to the institution with stage 4 metastasizing cancer. Still, she was able to claw through 1 meter of reinforced concrete and inject venom into 3 lab techs. The first died instantaneously. The bite was directly in the neck, and the venom entered directly into the carotid. Someone tell me what that means, please. The victim probably didn't feel anything beyond the initial bite, as his brain immediately hemorrhaged and out of nearly every orifice. The latter 2 victims had a running chance thanks to their unwilling friend. In the grand scheme of things, this probably made things worse for them. The second tech was bitten on her leg, and the third tech was bitten in the torso before being disemboweled. The second tech managed to amputate her own leg within a few seconds of the bite, but almost immediately thereafter suffered fatal internal bleeding from nearly every organ. Subject 49 was trapped in a safe room and sealed with molten iron in a 2 meter by 2 meter by 2 meter sarcophagus of sorts. Her vitals remain stable. The end result of Subject 49's escape is that the facility is now required to maintain enough stores to last 30 days separated from the outside world within each department. Safe rooms are being added to the facility that can sustain that area's team members for at least 30 days at minimum. At notice of this, one of my colleagues of 10 years abruptly resigned. I can't say as though I blame him. 2017-12-12. The institution has decided to close the facility off from the outside world completely. I think the local government got wind of things after my colleague resigned. He always had issues overcoming his strong moral compass. I, on the other hand, simply could not separate myself from the pursuit of knowledge. Subject 43, as aberrant as he was, seemed capable of surviving the very heat death of the universe. I know how impossible that is, but even after we cooled him off to fractions of a degree above absolute zero, his vitals remained not only stable, but identical to what they were at room temperature. Subject 43 left its dormant state, but it resumed a much more docile behavior. It currently roams its enclosure, but does not react at all when technicians enter the area. 3 attempts to draw blood preceded 3 broken syringes, and a healthy fear of the subject, who now stands over 200 centimeters in height. Weight is uncertain, but approaching 150 kilograms. 2018-1-8. Our contact with Subject 43 was cut dangerously short today, and we were nearly trapped by the emergency doors. One of the other test subjects escaped Level 1 containment. Prior to Subject 49, such an event happened in over a decade. And now in a matter of weeks, it happened twice. The tests were becoming more and more successful. Subject 43 seemed to take notice of the doors much as a cat would notice a house door opening and closing. We terminated our experiment early and immediately left the area. The only other relatively healthy male test subject was Subject 57. I'd done an initial write-up. He wasn't the athlete that Subject 43 was, but he didn't have any major health problems and was in decent physical condition, with only a few minor aches and pains at admission. Admin has thus far told us nothing other than don't move. 2018 110. My suspicions were confirmed. Subject 57 was the cause. During the offline air pressure test, he was able to infiltrate the fan and compressor area. One team member survived because she was the failsafe. Her job was to close the level 2 doors in the event of a breach. Subject 57 is still at large. Subject 43 seems to have taken notice of this and had been remarkably more aggressive. The entire faculty has been on full lockdown since the event, and Subject 43 has made several attempts to breach his facility. I hear this will not be a short stay. I fear, sorry. 2018 4/29. Despite the massive time gap, very little has changed. The facility has seemingly been abandoned by admin. I have no power to contact the outside, as the air is stale and the other teams seem to have vanished. My last conversation outside my own team took place in January. The three of us had managed to ration supplies, but they will not hold out for much longer. 2018 5/11. There was a loud bang. The doors have opened, all of them, from level 1 straight to the outside. I have manually closed and locked the level 2 door that separated myself from the outside. My two teammates decided to make a run for it. I know better. They're too slow. I told them that, but they didn't listen. I watched them die before they left the hallway. I can see their mangled corpses meters from daylight, and that they never reach. I can probably last another 2 weeks or so, but the facility is so isolated they'll never reach civilization alive. If my calculations are correct, however, assuming he can withstand daylight long enough to find shelter, Subject 43 should reach town before the month's end. The others seem to have realized their inability to stray far from the facility. I hear them outside, periodically. Test subject 61 died shortly after the doors opened, and an unknown test subject, presumably subject 57, left the facility shortly after subject 43, but judging by his inability to travel in the daytime, I doubt he'll make it far. But subject 43 will. 2018 5/16. This will be my last entry. I'm posting this as a warning. Hopefully, there's a good way to stop them. Hopefully, it's not all in vain. They don't like light. That's the only thing I found to keep them away. But I'm almost out of emergency power, and I think I'll have to make a run for it. I won't make it, but it's better than dying here, I think. Remember the light. It hurts them. Most of them, anyways. I don't know how to stop Subject 43. I'm sorry. And that's the end. That was intense, to say the least. Subject 43 and the rest of them, I don't actually think they're human. I don't know what they are, but they're definitely not human. Or maybe they're changed humans, because they did say that they have a past. So, anyways, if you want me to try to continue this and go through more stories, just go ahead and tell me, and we'll see what we can do. I'll see you guys next time.